Throughout history, China has gained a notorious reputation as one of the harshest places for individuals to suffer punishment for their committed crimes. The concept of the 5 punishments in the Chinese Penal Code is an interesting historical aspect. These punishments were assigned to crimes based on their severity, and they played a significant role in ancient Chinese legal systems. While the exact origin of these punishments remains uncertain, Chinese legends attribute them to a renowned warrior named Shi Yu. His specific clan is unclear, but he is often linked to the Hong, or their allies such as the San Miao clan and the Nine Li. In Chinese legends, Shi Yu is regarded as a mythical king, and it is said that the Qin Dynasty implemented the 5 punishments during their rule in association with him. These punishments played a crucial role in shaping early Chinese legal practices. Before the Qin Dynasty, these punishments were often focused on branding criminals for relatively minor offenses, like petty thievery and pickpocketing. Criminals would be tattooed, so that they would bear a lifelong mark of shame and disgrace for their crimes. For more serious offenses such as major robbery and looting, amputation was the norm. Cutting off the nose was the most common degree of this punishment. The 3rd and 4th punishments also involved amputation. You might lose one or both feet. In cases of heinous crimes, castration could be the punishment. And lastly, death was typically reserved for the most serious and grave crimes. In this version, women had their own separate set of 5 punishments. The reason for a distinct set of punishments for women is somewhat shrouded in mystery. However, it could be attributed to China being a patriarchal society, where women were typically not held responsible for their crimes, and it was believed that their tolerance capacity was lesser than that of a man. Consequently, women faced a unique set of 5 punishments: forced to grind grain, beaten with wooden sticks, fingers squeezed between sticks, forced to end their own lives, and sequestration. The inception of the first imperial law codes in a centralized Chinese state came about when the Shi Huangdi established autocratic rule, as the first imperial emperor of the Qin Dynasty. During this era, China adhered to the principles of legalism, a philosophical school of thought that posited the inherent wickedness of humanity. According to this philosophy, in order to cultivate a harmonious society where the vulnerable were safe, laws needed to be simplistic, ruthless, and highly efficient. The founder of legalism, Han Feizi, advocated for draconian laws, and proposed that the ruler alone should possess the power wielding his authority like lightning. This approach aimed to maintain strict control and order within the realm. He supported the utilization of both torture and forced labor as means of punishment, even urging the judge not to hesitate in resorting to executions. Predictably, adhering to such oppressive laws proved detrimental for the Qin dynasty, ultimately leading to their overthrow by the Han dynasty in 206 BC. This marked the introduction of Confucianism into the reformed Chinese constitution and penal code. However, it's worth noting that legalism was not entirely rejected. Its influence persisted in the system, contributing to the persistence of a harsh and unforgiving punishment system. Following the introduction of legalism by the Qin dynasty, and later the incorporation of Confucianism by the Han dynasty, significant changes were made to the 5 punishment system in the imperial era. These changes included bamboo lashes to the buttocks for minor offenses, stick lashes to the back and legs for repeated petty crimes, penal service for 1 to 3 years for standard crimes, exile to remote locations like the island of Hainan in the south, and lastly death by strangulation or slicing, depending on the severity of a horrendous crime. Within each of these punishments, various degrees were applied. However, the ultimate degree of capital punishment was all about killing them slowly, cut by cut. The 5 punishments evolved into even more gruesome methods of penalty, such as ling shi, or death by 1,000 cuts. This extreme punishment was exclusively decreed by the emperor and reserved for the most heinous crimes in China, known as the 10 Abominations. The 10 Abominations were focused on grave offenses like treason, parasitism, spousal murder, rebellion, and witchcraft. Similar to other penalties, ling shi also had varying degrees of severity depending on the specific crime. This gruesome punishment followed a prescribed procedure, beginning with the flame of skin and muscles, and then progressing to the removal of body parts, all intended to intensify suffering while ensuring the vital organs continued to function. Commonly, ling shi involved 8 slices to the body, although it could go up to 120 slices. While it might not literally equate to 1,000 cuts, the term death by 1,000 cuts does have a certain evocative quality. The torturer would typically start with slicing the face, then move on to the hands, feet, chest, stomach, and conclude either with a blow to the heart or by decapitation. People who witnessed ling shi in their lives described it as torture for the soul. It was meant to destroy the future of the offender's spirit so it cannot be recognizable in the afterlife. In the ancient Chinese judicial system, judges and magistrates held absolute authority and were treated with profound respect. Throughout the proceedings, witnesses and the accused would maintain a prostrate position before these officials. The specter of dread and torture loomed over the accused even within the courtroom. Interestingly, despite the awareness that this system occasionally led to the wrongful confession of innocent individuals under duress, ancient Chinese authorities maintained confidence in its efficiency. They believed that the torture method to justice is highly efficient because it saved time and money by solving cases rapidly. Consequently, torture became an integral and initial step in their investigations, aiming to secure confessions as the primary means of solving criminal cases. In ancient and imperial China, the verdict of any trial depended solely on the most important testimony of all the accused themselves according to the Chinese Penal Code. The accused could not be convicted without a confession. While this might seem like a legal loophole that could protect the accused, it also had its dark side. On one hand, an individual could persistently deny all charges and avoid punishment, even in the presence of compelling evidence. However, this also meant that authorities were incentivized to use any means necessary to extract a confession, as the entire case hinged on obtaining one. This dynamic created a challenging and sometimes harsh aspect of the Chinese judicial system. In ancient Chinese courts, a standard procedure involved tying accused individuals and witnesses around a pole by their arms during hearings. The guards would twist the poles to exert pressure on their arms, ensuring that witnesses and the accused were less likely to lie in their testimony. The harsh treatment had a deterrent effect, making witnesses understandably reluctant to come forward. In cases where accused individuals and reluctant witnesses needed to be restrained, a flat wooden framework known as a kang would be locked around a person's neck, adding an extra layer of physical restraint and humiliation to the proceedings. This treatment would put extreme pressure on the neck of the prisoner and could end up strangling them. The accused would have to wear kang all the time until the hearing reached its verdict, or longer if they were found guilty. Even if the accused were not kept in prison, authorities would still make them wear the kang around their neck in public as a symbol of humiliation. One slightly less barbarous method of execution was the neck tower. The prisoner was put inside a kang cage and he could have only stones to stand on. Over time, 1 or 2 stones would be removed daily, leading to a slow and horrific death from strangulation. In the imperial administration, a senior official would dread the receipt of an imperial letter containing a piece of red silk, as this had the clear meaning that the official was in severe disgrace and was expected to immediately hang or poison himself. Not all Chinese capital punishments involved physical torture. The relentless dripping of water inflicted unending mental torment, often driving prisoners to plead for a swift end. This form of Chinese torture entailed the constant and rhythmic dripping of water onto the prisoner's forehead, with their body securely restrained, offering no relief. To intensify the terror, there were instances when acid was sporadically added, causing excruciating burns that penetrated the skin and reached into the mind. This unpredictability heightened the fear, as a prisoner remained uncertain whether the next drop would be water or acid. Numerous media reports have suggested that modern China continues to employ similar methods in its treatment of prisoners, reminiscent of practices from ancient imperial China.